Hello, 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 and welcome in to Beyond the Den, presented by Bear Claw Media. I am Chris Bolin, and I am joined, as always, by Ben Schleiger. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
Good. It was what do we want to call it? Crazy, hectic, surprising FCS playoffs. Like we got a treat. I mean, not only with the top unbeatable, invincible, unsinkable ship going down, but man, across the board, a lot of interesting results. And I wouldn't have picked some of these this way. I'm sure I lost points in the pick 'em this week, huh, Chris?
Yeah, trust me, buddy, we both did. Looking at this, the first result is NDSU minus 25.5, both of us. I think you actually wavered a little bit on it. I didn't even think twice about it. But yeah, it's a crazy. Like North Dakota State goes down to Illinois State. I think everybody was just kind of. I don't even think everybody was kind of just counting NDSU as is just sliding them into that title game again. I even saw like with the chaos in the FBS playoff with Duke losing or Duke winning, and that likely creating two playoff spots for a group of five. There were people like saying just put North Dakota State in, like it doesn't matter. Like they were, I think they had received votes in the most recent top 25 poll. So just crazy. Illinois State goes for two, like the call that everybody. It was just awesome. It was just a picture perfect college football moment for the Redbirds to knock off the Bison. And you know what I'm disappointed in like my football watching day. This was a game where I didn't even put it on the like. It was like I don't need to watch this game. It's gonna be open and shut. I can save my time to watch like Abilene, SF Austin, or maybe Montana, South Dakota State. And then boom! All of a sudden, I check the score, and Twitter's set ablaze.
Yeah, I was gonna say quick side gripe because we're great at derailments of trains, especially in Colorado. Uh, Yikes! But why can't we do quad views or like multi views for FCS games? Like that would be so much more helpful. Like why is it only the featured on ESPN?
That's a great question, buddy. I don't
I don't know,
know.
because like same like I like some of those games. Like I think that's the biggest complaint from FCS fans. Excuse me. It's just like there's not like shotgun start times where it's like delayed where you can catch a little bit of everybody. So I think that's part of the problem is just like being able to catch up on all of it. But especially with NDSU, I don't think any of us saw this coming. Um, the spread alone says that. But yeah, like the last contest was almost three scores apart. This contest, I'm almost glad it ended this way because like nobody can say it was weird or fluky or like out of the box. It was a very like straightforward football game with a straightforward score, minus 29. But like they went down. They forced their way down for one last like push of a drive, got into the end zone with like 20 seconds left and then went for two and it was like yeah, like they did everything right. Like there's nowhere where you can be like okay, that shouldn't like if you're gonna get ticky tacky about penalties, fine, whatever. We're not gonna do that because we're the biggest victims of penalties and instant replay this season. So we get to keep that crown. But like this game, you just look at it and it's just a good old football win.
It truly was. The FCS Reddit, who we have long relied on for our lines here in these pickums, which early returns not looking good. I think we had a pair of 2 and 7 weeks picking against the spread here. Um, but it, they officially declared the North Dakota State dynasty done by their which granted by the parameters that they set very definitive like parameters for what defines a dynasty, and one of those is wins a one playoff game every year, like to keep it afloat. And with this loss, no such luck for the Bison. So by far, that's I, my, in my book, it might be a little bit early to actually officially call the dynasty closed. Maybe it's just the open of a second dynasty led by Polasek, even though he kind of maybe he ends the first one, begins the second one, but I don't see NDSU exactly going anywhere in the coming years. I don't think this is like a program changing loss, but it could be a program changing win for Illinois State. Maybe, I'm sure, a couple days after National Signing Day, but I bet that brings a little more juice, especially if they keep kind of can keep this momentum going, beating a UC Davis team next week who's extremely gettable, as we've kind of seen in the Big Sky. So you brought up an interesting question on who's the new kind of Big Four in this playoffs, and I think it's the Montanas, Tarleton, and then probably, I mean, I guess it 100% just is the winner of that Illinois State UC Davis game, because that puts them in the Final Four. But it completely changes it. It just opens the bracket up like extraordinarily, where I think I was kind of just counting it as it's a, if you're on that side of the back bracket, you're playing for a semifinal appearance, and if you're on the other side, you're playing to get to the title game. But that's not at all the case anymore, and I think just about any team left could convince themselves they have a chance to win this now.
I could see that. And then backing up just ever so slightly to the dynasty talk, definitionally, yes, that is done per the Reddit FCS guidelines and whatnot. But I don't think we can rule out how dominant they were. So, like, yes, maybe dynastically they're done, but I don't think powerhouse wise that they're done to any degree. The one thing that would cause a kind of a hiccup to that is just like how Eastern Washington was quarterback U for so many years of just like, they just re up and reload, same position, like different dude in there being an absolute stud, all American numbers and whatnot. NDSU kind of does that with head coaches. Sure, it's a bit of a machine where you can plug and place, but I think NDSU is safe this season, not necessarily because they return so much and whatnot. I think they're safe because they keep Tim Polasek. Again, nothing's done in the coaching season quite yet. There can always be late offers, late firings, etc., etc. But I think we're pretty safe with how much coaches have to be present with this portal era. But I would say, I think if Wyoming gets rid of Savell, I'm pretty sure you see Polasek over there. Like, does Polasek want to be there? That's another question. But I think you're right about the Big Four. I think it's the Montanas are obviously showing a lot of dominance. Montana State don't mess around. Don't let the cute little Ivy team stay around too long and cause a ruckus late down the stretch. But I think both had impressive wins. Tarleton, they're kind of like the last darling in there. I guess you could say Illinois State has made themselves a Cinderella story since they survived the parapet, or they survived the terrible challenge of the unbeatable. So I'm gonna just give them the reigning four spot, just because I don't think either of us want to see three Big Sky teams in the Big Four, because then we're gonna be very disappointed.
Especially if Tarleton comes out. I don't think.
And I really don't want to see UC Davis versus Montana as the championship. We saw one episode of that this year, and it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I hope I think I do want to see three Big Sky teams in, but I don't want to see an all Big Sky championship game. I do want to see Tarleton versus whoever the winner of that Montana State game is. But we are getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, Ben, because there's some more games to play, and I guess by just listening to us talk here, you probably have a pretty good idea that UC Davis took down Rhode Island 47-26. The 8-9 matchup, pretty big final score there, but the game was closer than that would indicate. I would say Rhode Island kind of hung around for a good portion of it, but UC Davis, I think, just showing they are the better team and probably have been. Following the theme of the playoffs, the teams from the power conferences are pretty much handling business. Even with a North Dakota loss to Tarleton, North Dakota beat Tennessee Tech last week, so I think they were the main example of this last week. So, what do you take away from that UC Davis right now?
Honestly, like across the board from the results this week, like it's just kind of like a dichotomy and hierarchy of just who's who and who's the for real teams. Like Tennessee Tech, they were very edgy, very fun. But we figured out yeah, like they just did not have the juice, they didn't have the discipline, the ball control. And again, I'm placing a lot of that onus on Kiko Vesperis, but he came from a Big Sky from a power program and was responsible for 7 turnovers. If a team is responsible for 7 turnovers, that's a bad day. If a person is responsible for 7 turnovers and you're not on the defense, you need to go put yourself in a quiet room and hug your blankies. um, but yeah, we saw that kind of dichotomy of where do they rank. And it was perfect that North Dakota played another one of those unsure, untested teams, as the big power conferences would say. And it was interesting early, but definitely Tarleton is more athletic and just had a bit more variety of skills that they were able to overtake North Dakota with. In the Rhode Island game, I think that's a perfect representation of that's the CAA's best right now, or at least one of their best, against the Big Sky's third representative at this point. I don't think we would pick UC Davis over either of the Montanas. So, I mean, that just kind of puts in check of where the CAA and what their power rating, I would say, should be based off of. So, again, very good team. Nationally, could probably beat 80% of the teams out there, but on that given day, who they were against, it just wasn't going to happen. It was too much of a margin of skill and margin of roster, that again, Rhode Island, very good team, congrats, great season. But UC Davis, even with the massive injuries that they've had this year, on offense and defense, I mean, just imagine how much closer to Montana's level they would be if Rex Connors wasn't out for the year.
It's a great point. Yeah, I don't remember the number, but they've dealt with more than a dozen season-ending injuries to pretty solid key contributors this year. So another great job by Tim Plow. As soon as a non Washington State, Oregon State bullshit G5 job opens up, one with maybe a little bit of solidity there, I imagine he will. Or I could see him. He came from Cal. I could see him jump into an old Pac-12 team like a Cal or a Stanford or one of those kind
I
of.
heard Stanford likes hiring Big Sky coaches.
That's true. That's true. I don't know if Tim Plow's a big enough dick though to follow in the Troy Taylor footsteps. I don't even know what happened with that Troy Taylor situation though. So I just say that jokingly.
The
But
last good thing to happen to Sac State.
people are clamoring for Troy Taylor to come back too. I've heard which I mean, if I was in Sac State's shoes, I'd probably also want him to come back with what he did. But who knows? That is its own. There's probably an off-season episode just on what the fuck's going on with Sacramento State here,
It
and
could
with
probably be a small book written about their season this year.
there probably will be. If we're being honest, somebody's gonna write that shit. It's between they made themselves the story, which I think is usually a good thing. But when things kind of crumble around you making yourself the story, and you still only have 4 games scheduled for next year, that
Yeah,
makes it a
that's
little tougher.
the most crazy concerning thing. Sure, your coach leaving you to go to something better and probably get the heck out of the uh, what am I saying? Quicksand. Just getting out of the quicksand. He might have read the writing on the wall and was like, "It's time to get out of here."
I think he did.
This shit's going downhill. So yeah, between Luke Wood being a crazy clown president, the coach sticking around for one season that kind of went well, and then all the guys decommitting, so that Idaho became the first in the FCS for recruiting classes so far. It's nuts. I mean, I don't even know what you do. The fact that they only have 4 games scheduled, that still sits crazy to me. I mean, how far out can you even wait to schedule those? Logistically.
A lot of teams already have 12 scheduled next year. Like most schedules are released, so like the fact that I'm sure they can. They'll find something. I'm sure they'll figure something out and at least get to 10, 11. But like, how is what's interesting to me. So
All
who
right, Chris.
knows?
So here's one last side distraction about Sac State. Uh, over under 100% chance that they schedule Lincoln,
Oh,
California, that Bishop Sycamore team.
I'm surprised. Is that not already one of the four on the schedule?
I mean, it should be. It
It
should
will.
be.
You're right. It
It's at
will
least
be.
same state. That would save some cost for
And I
their
think
their
Lincoln's like
shenanigans.
Oakland, so it's not. Lincoln will hop on
Yeah.
a bus over there. So
Right.
no, that's. I think you nailed it, Ben. That'll be. I'm excited for when that tweet comes out that they announce in Lincoln, California. Lincoln parentheses California is on the schedule.
Right. I can't even imagine how many creative teams they're gonna have to get that are not FCS.
Yeah, and not Division One. I think is the only.
Right.
Maybe they can scrounge together one or two more FCS or FBS opponents, but like I feel like a good chunk of the schedule has to be D2 and below because there's just only so many power schools, and a lot of them already have their schedules completely set. So
Maybe they revive Azusa Pacific, give them a football team just for one game.
they literally schedule Bishop Sycamore. I wouldn't be that surprised at this point.
Yeah, might have to.
But back to the teams who were playing here yesterday. Nova at Lehigh. I will pass this one right over to you, Ben. You've been the Lehigh darling all season. I was pulling for him as I was watching this one down the stretch. Low scoring game. I think it was 0-0 at halftime. And then Lehigh gets on the board. Villanova answers. Then Nova drives down with, I don't know, 4 minutes or so left. Takes a 14-7 lead where it finishes. This was just another good football game with the CAA. You talked about Rhode Island kind of not giving UC Davis much of a fight. I think Nova and Lehigh kind of both being from those back east schools are a little more on level playing field. Also, Rhode Island playing at I think 10 p.m. start time for local Rhode Island time. It was an 8 or maybe 11. I think it was it was a 7 p.m. kickoff in Davis. So I think that probably played a big role in some of that result. But I'm just rambling now. Nova at Lehigh, Ben. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I was gonna say interesting note there for sure on Rhode Island. Like, um, would that have? I think that would have been 11 because
I
that's
think
all
it
the way
was
on the coast,
an 8
mountain,
Mountain Time
central,
kickoff.
eastern.
I think it was 8 our time, so 7 o'clock Davis. Oh wait, I have it pulled up. Why am I?
Yeah, I was gonna say it definitely considering environment and just like logistical stuff that you can't change, that sucks. Like whoever's gonna play on Friday, that's gonna be a logistical challenge as well. It's gonna be a hurdle that the other teams on Saturdays aren't gonna be
On
facing.
Friday
But
of
then,
finals week also, Ben. I think that's kind of a
oh, is it
loss.
finals week for
Yeah,
most schools?
that's why UNC's
Oh,
off. UNC basketball is off this week. It's because it's finals week. So you know they're sure definitely students first. That's what the NCAA tells us. So
they're student athletes for sure.
this Friday game shouldn't matter at all when it comes to that, huh? Because they got to focus on their academics. Nobody's missing any finals or has to reschedule that to travel across the country to play a Friday night kickoff.
Yeah, because you're missing at least Thursday, Friday. Um,
At
honestly,
least.
I don't know how many like unlucky people who have ever had a Friday final, but I've had them so many times. But I see people like jet out of town like Tuesday at like
Tuesday, yeah.
3:30. I'm like, what? You're done already? Damn it! Why am I the one stuck here? But like UNC was never a bad place to be stuck. It just was like you would slowly see campus like die and die and die. And of course, I had the Friday closing shift at the library, so it was like, all right, I get to see it the most literally dead it will be. So
You're the only one there. Like a tumbleweed somehow tumbles through the library.
yeah, exactly. It was always kind of like that. So yeah, Nova Lehigh. I think the Patriot League they keep on trying to get themselves into the top 5 conferences per se, but it's just not happening quite yet.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Great season by Lehigh though, and they acquitted themselves well. It's not like they rolled over and died in this game. So against Villanova, who I've been low on all season, but has shown from time to time they're legitimate. So do not want to kind of diminish what they're doing over there. Moving to Yale and Montana State, another game that I was like, well, this doesn't really need to. This doesn't factor into the TV decisions as I'm watching all 7 of these games kick off within 40 minutes of each other. But Yale, the Ivies, I think officially with this result, what was the final score? It was 21-13. I think the Ivies have acquitted themselves well and kind of proven they do belong in the FCS playoffs, even if Harvard kind of laid a bit of an egg in that opening round game. Yale with that comeback against Youngstown, no. Giving Montana State probably the best challenge they've had against a team that wasn't from the Montanas or the Dakotas. I guess also Oregon, but FBS doesn't really count. But you know what I'm saying. Yale just they played well, and I don't have a ton to say on the specifics because, like I said, this was another one where I was like, oh, that was closer than I expected after the fact. But what were your thoughts on another long trip, one of the longer trips an Ivy school has made? And I think it's safe to say they wouldn't be making that trip during finals week.
Yeah, I mean, if they got another week out, I mean, that'd be chaos. I'm sure the presidents would be like, well, don't fail these kids because like they're the future stock traders and lawyers of America. So please don't.
Here, like,
Like,
also this guy has an offer to Ole Miss next year, so
right? Yeah, fail him. Everyone else, it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Like that's one of those games I will have to go back and check out a little bit more than I saw on just the Twitter highlights as we were out shenanigans a little bit between football watching. But I would say great season for Yale. Yeah, I think one of the things I want to do in the off season is kind of like go back and check the film and check Yale season versus Harvard season at the end of it. Like I don't think anybody expected Yale to be the what would be the right way to put it, the spokesman, the representative, the face of the Ivy Leagues. Also that's totally going to be bragging rights for like 100 years, for sure. That they're just like, yeah, when we did that whole playoff thing, you sucked, we didn't. But also I think it needs to be looked at like what's the farthest the Ivies have ever traveled for a football game, because this might be a decades in the making record that they went to Montana State. Also, they performed crazy good there. It was very slow uptake on the game. It makes me a little worried for Montana State going forward. Is like you can't you can't show that against other teams. Other teams are going to take advantage of that if they have a high octane or a high passing offense. I think this one they're kind of just trying to brute strength, just brute force Yale into submission of just like we know that they're going to be having on the run game. Montana State is obviously an expert in the run game, and kind of like how Coach Lamb described our last game of the season is just like we knew that that's what they were good at, so we wanted to beat them with that. I think that's kind of why we saw such a low scoring game, is that Montana's State's philosophy was kind of like let's just get after it in what they're good at and beat them at that. And like while they did, box score watchers obviously concerned of like, ugh, like is this team like in trouble or in whatnot? But I think it speaks to the quality and like Euro's steam and quality that they went after with the season. But Montana State should be like just murdering these guys by a lot more points.
SF Austin, Evelyn Christian at SF Austin, probably the one I was kind of looking forward. I don't want to say that. The matchup between the two most evenly matched teams of the weekend, I think, is how I'd say it. Stephen F. Austin comes out on top. They were trailing 34-31. Score the final 10 points of the game, a touchdown with about 8 minutes left, then a field goal to cap it off for good measure just after the 2-minute warning. This was two teams that neither of which really I think have any. I don't want to say delusions. They're not title contenders, but they are by no means pretenders, and they definitely deserve to be in the playoffs and deserve to make it to this round of the playoffs. What were your takeaways from that one?
This one I was pretty disappointed. I thought Abilene Christian had a little bit of extra spunk to them. I thought they were going to be going far into the playoffs. I was like, SFA, they got their number early on. Like they have this. Like this should be a gettable game. Like getting like versus like on who they've played. Like it seemed like it was going to be a pretty gettable game, and it was like back and forth. But SFA, they showed why they are one of those top teams that a lot of people miss out on, is they just had the consistency and the quality to keep on going.
Abilene Christian just has a line of quarterbacks with fantastic names. I mean, Sam Vidlak was the best quarterback in the game, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. But Stone Earl for Abilene, who replaced Maverick MacGyver. I don't know what year in school Stone Earl is, but I am already eagerly waiting the name of his replacement here coming up in a couple years. But I think you're right. I'm not disappointed in SF Austin. I don't think they were necessarily like the better team that should have won. But I do get what you're saying. I think they have the higher ceiling, as they've shown with that win over Tarleton. But as they've shown with a couple games, not necessarily to yesterday, I don't want to say this was like a low floor game for them because SF Austin's a good team, but they've shown that their level of competition isn't necessarily as consistent. Sometimes they are. They lower floor, higher ceiling. So it's a bummer that a potential giant killer got knocked out here a little bit early. But I think SF Austin is a more than deserving team to represent the Southland because ain't nobody representing the SoCon. And with the performance Mercer put out on the field against South Dakota, yesterday, Ben, 47-0 loss to the Yotes, which thank God the Yotes got that one because the Bears got them in an incredible basketball game last night. But South Dakota, I think they'd probably prefer to win the playoff football game, and they won it. They won it big. It was 47-0 over the SoftCon champion Mercer Bears, who throughout the season the one team they played, the game got canceled and the rest of the games were uninspiring, and yet they got a 6 seed, and this is how it worked out for him. Ben, I talked for a long time there, so what do you got to say?
Yeah, you threw all the correct digs out there. I'm not gonna even give devil's advocate to most of it. One, because I believe it. Two, because I don't think there's a good argument after yesterday. You know me, I was a bit of a Mercer hater per se, even though I was literally an Mercer advocate the last playoff round. Well, last year's playoffs. Big advocate of it, that they were a machine, that they had all these weapons, that it was very much a team to be afraid of. This season, not so much. Like, sure, we can debate till we're blue in the face who would have won that Lightning game. Ultimately, everybody lost because the NCAA was kind of soft. Like, if these kids all sign a waiver right here, it says like, if I get struck by lightning, I promise not to sue. I'm pretty sure 95 out of those 100 kids are gonna sign it. But like, that's just me. So just let the kids play. That's my take on that. My take on the rest of Mercer's schedule. Tennessee Tech got screwed. I'm just gonna say that Tennessee Tech should have had their seeding. I think Tennessee Tech did have one like loss that kind of made you like, like I don't know, like maybe they're not for real. But outside of that, like I think the other one was an FBS game. So Tennessee Tech, should have had Mercer's seeding. Mercer didn't have a signature win, I don't think. Um, they had a partial signature win in the fact that they beat Western Carolina, which would have been my hopeful for the Southern Conference. But I would say overall, um, you know, outside of Western Carolina, I think the Southern Conference had a very down year. I think it cannibalized itself. I think ETSU and Chattanooga never had a good spot in the season to showcase themselves. So I think you're right. I think SoftCon is unfortunately a brutal but like true way to put it is like they were looking at potentially 3 teams last year, maybe even 4, but just how the schedule shaped out down the last 2 to 3 weeks of the schedule, it kind of self cannibalized, and this whole season, I think they cannibalized themselves. Western Carolina, Teron Dickens, he sets a record for was it most touchdowns in a game or most completions? Was he the 47 for 47? So he had that record, like so much raw talent there, but like just could not string enough wins together. I would have rather seen them. I think at least Dickens puts out a hearty effort and gives it a better go than what we saw from Mercer. Mercer was dismantled, dejected, like just disgusting. Like if I gave them a grade for that game and the overall feel of their season, including that game, like D. Like they won the conference, but they did an awful showing.
Yeah, I think I'd probably give them I like a nice B minus because they did end up at what like 9-3, 10-2, but just completely schedule aided. I think there are about 40 teams across the country who could have put up the same record against Mercer's schedule. Um, but let's move to 2 teams who both of them could have easily, or one of them already was seated higher, but South Dakota State versus Montana, both deserve to be there much more than the Bears did. Um, I was really hoping South Dakota State would be able to pull this one off. I've been a known. I don't. I think I was just late to the party, Ben. I've been a Bears fan for 10 years. I finally was exposed to enough of the Montana stuff that I hate them. It grinds my gears now. Great team though. I got to separate my feelings for the program from the program itself. But the Grizzlies are a great team. They're a very solid team, very well coached, much akin to the South Dakota team this year. Seemingly under Bobby Hauck, they start off at the beginning of the year. They're sloppy. They make mistakes. I'm like, this team sucks. How does people think they're so good? And then they still just find a way to win some of these games throughout the season. They clean it up. They get better. They do all the stuff they're supposed to do. And now look at them. They have a legitimate, as I would say, as good of a chance as anybody to win a national title here. They have to overcome Montana State, who got them earlier this year at Wa Grizz. But Montana, I think that's the takeaway here. I think Montana is just a really good team. South Dakota State, valiant effort. I think that weird period in the middle of the season, they just weren't able to shake off the Chase Mason injury and all the things that kind of followed from that.
Yeah, Montana fans clip that. Known Montana hater and critic said you're good. So better clip that. Better put that on your podcast and whatnot. Um, Craig Haley, watch out. Somebody said something nice about Montana. Oof. But no, I think you're right. I think South Dakota State. This game was unfair to South Dakota State a little bit in the sense of like they had a better season than where they got seated at. But those last couple weeks, it was like I'm not even sure they're gonna make the playoffs if they don't win that last game. And they did, so they figured it out. But yeah, topsy turvy season. Um, as much as Montana will be like, it's so unfair. We had such a hard second round playoff. No. Look at your strength of schedule for the season. You had 8 home games. You had like some butterfly shrimp cupcake ass opponents some weeks. Like Sacred Heart, really. That's the best you can find on like a week 5, a week 6 for a non con game. Get out of town. that's horse pucky. Like, find something better. Like, there's Sac State next year. You could play Sac State. Oh wait, they're your kryptonite. You probably don't want to play them, even if they are like just a JV squad at this point. But you know, I think overall Montana is. I think Montana's scary. I think that's me personally. Is like we still have to see Brawl of the Wild 2.0. I think if we don't get that, it's a shame for everybody. Um, but that'll most likely be in Bose. Well, yeah, that would be in Bozeman for sure because of the rankings. Um, but if they play a second time, I don't know. Like, home field advantage says that Montana State wins twice, but I say Montana looks pretty scary right now. Like, offense is clicking, defense is clicking, special teams is never a worry because Michael Wortham's out there. I think Montana's a team to. I would say probably a favorite on that side of the bracket.
Opinions on Montana. What did Henry think about Julius Davis and the Brent Vegan dust up? Does he have any hot takes on
Oh
that?
boy. Yeah, that he's a better boy than that, and he wouldn't be dusting up with the coach.
You've taught him well, Ben. Let's move forward. I figured we probably should at least just touch on that, even if jokingly.
Yeah, I don't understand the full context of that one. I saw the video, and I'm just like, y'all need to quit. Y'all need to like quit being so
just,
chirpy.
just
Like,
knock it
I
off.
guess it was like because he knew the guy and all that, but I was like, dude, this is a bad look. I was like, wait, this is like from the broadcast. This isn't from like just
Someone's
some
cell
fan
phone.
video.
Yeah.
Like, this is literally like the TV cameras. Like, fuck, somebody grab everybody and just tell them to cool it. But yeah, bad look for sure. I don't think it was as bad as everybody thinks it was, though.
I have a feeling that's probably the case. We'll see, because I imagine they'll have to say something about it. But
Yeah, there's already been a Twitter apology, but it sounded like he already knew the guy and it was like a former teammate, so he was just chirping to him. And yeah, I don't know. I think Coach took it out of context and thought he said something he didn't.
okay, I kind of
So
hope.
I think he kind of defended himself.
I hope it's the case. I hope it's kind of a nothing thing. But let's move forward to Prairie View A&M 23, Jackson State 21. My favorite moment. I didn't watch this game, but my favorite moment from this lead up was Coach Tremaine Jackson of Prairie View A&M. I'm sure you saw the tweet he put out. He was like, "Hey recruits, like, sorry if we can't spend all day like talking and texting. We have a championship game against a good team coming up. Just know the teams with a lot of time on their hands right now. Something didn't go right this season, and I don't know exactly the phrasing, but he was basically like, if we're a little slow to respond, we got you. We're just preparing for a championship game. So if you want to talk to all those teams that aren't playing in championship games, okay, but just know we are." And it was a cool thing. Like he didn't say it as much of a dick as I just did right there, but cool story. Tremaine Jackson, former Colorado Mesa coach, makes the
Oh,
jump to Valdosta State. I'm assuming he's from down south somewhere over there, and then takes the step up to Prairie View A&M, who I'm trying to see how they did last year, because I wonder what kind of turnaround that he kind of authored here, because this is his first year playing, um, or first
yeah,
year
Prairie View
coaching
has
Prairie
been.
View.
Yeah, they've definitely been relevant within the last couple
They
years.
were 5-7
Whether
last
they're
year.
yeah, whether playing spoiler or whether actually being in the the championship hunt per se, they've definitely been kind of like a pesky team for sure. So shout out to them. Color me surprised. I was just kind of one of those. I was penciling in. I was like, this is gonna be another chalk week. It's gonna be Jackson State. We're gonna have them as the SWAC representative. But yeah, now we can know who the full slate for the Celebration Bowl is, and the HBCUs is always kind of like interesting. Of it still feels like even if somebody has a way better team than you, and I'm not saying this was the case this week. I think it was two good teams going at it. Um, I think that in the HBCU landscape, there's still the sense of like anybody can win at any time. And thankfully, we saw that on the mainstream scale as well, with Illinois State coming out of nowhere to put the Bison in their place. But it's just kind of nice how competitive it is, and most of the time it's pretty wholesome. There was a bit of a dust up earlier in the season, but generally better behaviors than Julius Davis and some of the other dust ups we've seen with other teams, and also like the Celebration Bowl. I hope the ABC actually puts it on this year, but halftime performances from the bands in the fifth quarter, that's always a good like cultural experience for to see like big bands, to see like performance like soul bands. Like those are just I think we're spoiled at UNC because we have one of the best bands west of the Mississippi. That's actually from a HBCU band director who said that. Um, but outside of like people who just kind of have a band for the sake of having a band, like it's just such a different experience to have that added to your atmosphere.
No, I think that's a great point. It's like it's definitely a different type of college football, like a different atmosphere, probably more pure, like you kind of mentioned. Which is cool when normally, like, I didn't used to really care, but as so much stuff changes every year and like the landscape is constantly in turmoil, it's cool to see some like just old school, like, these rivalries matter. We're not playing for a national championship and we don't care because we want to beat this school that we've not even necessarily hated for 150 years, but just like the rivalries are more pure. It's not due to TV contracts. It's just about the football. And we will pick the Celebration Bowl, but let's get back to the games shrouded in the TV contracts, and probably, what are we going to get, three that kick off at 10 a.m. and one that kicks off. Oh no! So we have the Friday night, then we have a 10, a 1:30, and a 3 next week. So
Oh, fine.
yeah. So naturally, let's start with the 3 because it's in the top left. It is Illinois State heading to UC Davis, and r/FCS Sportsbook has this as a pick'em. So what are your thoughts with the Redbirds versus the Aggies?
And this is the Friday game.
No, this is the Saturday at 3 p.m. game. Illinois
Okay.
State heading to Davis, California.
Okay. I was gonna say if it was Friday, that would change my opinion because like it's one less day of prep, one less day to heal up. But 3 p.m. that's a pretty standard week to week. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to do with the pick'ems anymore. I don't know what to do with the spreads because man, they were wonky last week. If this is a pick'em that makes it a little easier, oh, I don't like it, but I'm gonna go with Davis. I'm gonna use Chris's uh famous line and that Illinois State might have blown their shot already for this. They might have gotten the exact best result that they can be, and going above that might just be greedy. Um, yeah, that wasn't the case with some of the other teams that have beaten the top seed in the playoff and gone on in playoffs before. But I think this is a lot to ask to have beating the number one team in the country, the team that you couldn't figure out in the regular season, and then like getting that in the playoffs in the Fargo Dome, which is very much a handicapping environment with all those crazy Fargo residents and the it being a dome and all that other jazz. Like crazy place to get a win. They should definitely hang that like a framed picture of them celebrating on their mantle for sure, but I just don't know that another road game, especially across the country against a Big Sky team that probably might be the most confident that they have been all year, at least the most confident they have been um, pre major starters being injured for the whole season. I think this is the most dangerous time to play Davis. Caden Pinnick, just an absolute like beast of a freshman. Like for him to be a freshman doing all this stuff is nuts. I don't know how he doesn't win the Jerry Rice Award, unless it's just they don't want to pick a quarterback. Um, I would be very surprised if he doesn't win it. Jordan Fisher, also another crazy talent on the offense. I don't know that there's going to be much to show on the defensive side of things from Davis. So I think that's the one hiccup is Davis's offense, which just produced 40 some points, or Illinois State's defense, which kept them in the game and helped them defeat number one. Who's the better team going forward? I'm gonna go with Davis's offense because I feel like Illinois State they might have just putting their bodies on the line to get that win to get past Fargo.
That's a fair point. You make a good point. My instinct tells me Illinois State here, and I think I'm going to roll with it. Just, I don't really have a good reason. It just feels UC Davis has been a little bit iffy all year. I think you're right, though. They are playing with as much confidence as they've played all season, at least seemingly. Um, but being in Davis helps. It not being an 8 p.m. or a 7 p.m. kickoff, I think, helps Illinois State. I think the pick'em's pretty right. I would have expected UC Davis to be favored by a couple points, maybe a field goal, but I think the pick'em feels correct because we're waffling enough. But since now, I guess I should say the season-long pick'em, Ben is leading by one. 57 and 26 to 56 and 27. So I gotta get one or two back here. Um, so I'm
This
gonna
is a great one for us to be split on, um, because this will really show um, what UC Davis's season ends on. Like,
yeah.
does it end here against the Giant Killers, or do they find a way to overcome? I don't know. Let's say third best Missouri Valley team. I
Who
mean,
knows,
are
man?
we putting?
Like South Dakota State and South Dakota and Illinois State could all probably be like right there.
Yeah, so undefined, very good like Missouri Valley
Second
team, but
second tier. That just beat
I
the
think
one
we
team in the first tier though, so that's got to count for something, I guess.
Yeah, I think we've both kind of been um a little concerned on what UC Davis really is. So this will be the perfect week for them to really come in clutch and like show that they're for real, or show, hey, Tim Plow's got a great program. It just isn't, quarterfinal winner yet.
Yeah, just not quite there yet. That's a good point, and I think it's a good season for UC Davis no matter what. It'll be remembered much better, I think, if they are able to win this one. Then let's move one more ahead to scroll too far up. Villanova at Tarleton. The Texans are favored by 10.5 points in this one. And yeah, I know. What are your thoughts on this one, Ben?
Immediately hearing the spread, which let's assume the spread even knows halfway what's going to go on because it didn't in the North Dakota State game, but then again, it didn't either. Um, let's assume that 10-point deficit is a real concern. Um, that feels like a trap. That feels like it's going to give some false hope to Tarleton. Let them kind of like get ahead early and take the foot off the gas, kind of hover over the brake, and then not be in the right position to finish out the game and just make sure their opponent doesn't get ahead of them. Um, I'm still gonna pick Tarleton. 10 feels wrong. Um, because like I think we need to give like fair respect. Like, yes, Lehigh um was undefeated. They were like the Patriot League um winners, and like of course that's kind of undefined because them and Lafayette really are kind of the joust, the supports of the whole conference there. But still a very good team. I think 14-7 is a respectable loss. Um, but Villanova, like day in and day out, they recruit well. It's just whether or not they put the parts together. So I'm gonna go with Tarleton. I'm gonna stay on the Cinderella train, but I feel like Villanova is peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I'm with you. See, when I saw the line, I thought that's a rat line, but in the direction of Tarleton. Like I think we're saying the same thing. It feels like it should be a tighter line, but I think that's making me, I'm just going to defer, even though this r/FCS isn't the like be all end all. Typically, when I see one of those lines, I'm like, they know something I don't, and I am also going to err on the side of Tarleton here. And I truly do just think Tarleton's like a good team, and I think Villanova's a good team too. But I don't. I would actually consider Tarleton on the level of a Big Sky, Missouri Valley um, playoff team instead of some of these other conferences. So I'll bite the bullet on the points with that 10.5 to Tarleton too.
Here's a fun caveat to make you really decide how you feel about it. Villanova and North Dakota play at a neutral site. Who are you picking?
Ooh, I think North Dakota, like, which is
And
that
I feel like the spread is probably safe
yeah,
this week.
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Even though I don't like it, I don't like either of the next two spreads either, because they're the exact same basically. Stephen F. Austin heading to Montana State. This is that Friday night game.
Oh,
Texas to Montana. Going to be a bit of a weather thing. Playing at night also doesn't help. The Bob Kitties are favored by 11 points um, over Stephen F. Austin. I really want to pick the Lumberjacks here, Ben. I just really do. And I don't know if I can, though, is where I'm kind of sitting.
well, I'm going to make you pick first because nothing I'm going to say is going to help that argument.
Okay, so yeah, I think Stephen F. Austin is a solid team. I think they have a high-powered offense that not like wouldn't give Montana State fits, but could be one of the better ones they've seen. Probably, maybe the best they've seen outside of Montana. Kind of Pinnock and UC Davis, notwithstanding, I'd say they're probably fairly comparable. The more I think about it, though, man, I have to go Montana State, especially the weather, the night game, the stage where Montana State's here every single year. Stephen F. Austin, I don't even think made the playoffs last year. If they did, they lost in the. No, I don't even think they made the playoffs last year. So
Here, I'll give you one more thing to chew on before you officially choose. Do you think SFA or Yale is a better team?
I think Stephen F. Austin's a better team by far, actually. But I also like it. It's that transitive property has got me in trouble before, Ben, and that's where
It
I
always gets someone in trouble.
I still think I'm gonna go with Montana State, and if they don't cover, I'm gonna feel bad because not even because I got it wrong, just because I wanted so badly to pick SF Austin.
Well, I'm going to pick the Bob Kitties with you. I think that this is a gift. I think that this is rewarding Montana State for actually playing a hard schedule and whatnot. But at the same time, I think this is a gift with a sharp edge to it. Is yes, you're gonna win this game, because it's Friday night, so you're shorting the other team a day of rest. You shorting yourself a day of rest at home. Boohoo, whatever. Get over it. Eat your snacks earlier in the week, whatever. But Friday night, it's gonna be cold. It's probably gonna be windy. And it's just going to be a bad environment for a visiting team with less time on their schedule. And Montana State just played a game where they beat somebody by doing the best thing that the other team did better. Like, this seems like an absolute, it could be whatever the Bob Kitties want it to be game. Um, the sharpness to the gift, the edge within the gift, you play this cupcake, you play this game that is, everything is slated against your opponent, and let's say you win big. What does that do for you? What does that do besides confidence? Because like, you didn't get tested, you didn't get pushed. So I feel like this is just like a very unfair spot for SFA, and I hope that they play very well. um but I think it's just so slanted in Montana State's favor.
South Dakota heading to Montana. A similar line, a little bit steeper. This one is 13.5 favoring the Grizzlies.
Oh, oh,
Which I think I don't know if I did it twice on air, once off air, and once on, but I equated these two seasons to each other. The way the program struggled early in the year, they're playing their best football right now. South Dakota, the only difference I would say is South Dakota lost really just one of those early games and then didn't have a chance to be tested again. Um, and then also I think from our perspective, that very close game against us that went into overtime is probably also a ding, even though it counted as a win on the scoreboard. Um, I this one just I don't want to pick Montana, Ben. I want to hear your arguments before I make a pick here because I think you can understand my internal struggle is where I really want to pick South Dakota, but picking Montana has been the correct choice just basically every step along the way here this year.
here we go. Rookie choice. Got the mic not muted. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Is that 13 is a big number. Montana, it's had its questions. It's had its lack of strength on its schedule and whatnot, and they have had similar instances throughout the year. Um, I just I can't say with good faith that um they would perform that much better than a well performing South Dakota State. Like it, they've had
Which
a
I
very
think South
respectable
Dakota
season.
State would have covered this spread, if that means anything. Where's that game at? What was the final score?
I thought it was 50-29.
Oh shoot, you're right. It was. I thought it was 50-59.
Yeah, so
Which
transitive
I
properties
think
are going to get me in trouble.
USD beat South Dakota State though.
But wasn't that a week that
It
that
was
Mason
one
South?
1,000,000% was.
Yeah. So this is a team that is worse than that team at its full strength. So I'm going to pick the Grizzlies, but I think this is a rough time for South Dakota just cuz like they're peaking cuz like this should be like the best of their season and they should continue to keep on going up. But at the same time, I just don't see that happening for them. I think that they're just going to be outmatched. Like South Dakota is a very good team, but Montana just has all conference players at every position. Whether or not that shows that way on the all conference list for the Big Sky, I wouldn't, I wouldn't say so. But as they keep on climbing up, I would say Montana across the board, they just have guys that I would put on the all conference list at every position. So across the board, I think Montana is the better team. They're better equipped, better roster. Um, I'm interested to see how this game plays out though, because I have a feeling that this is going to be the game of the week. I just couldn't tell you why.
This Montana South Dakota game. Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Yotes. I don't. I've let my better judgment prevail on the last two, picking Tarleton and Montana State. But I'm gonna go with the Yotes. I have a soft spot for them. I don't really know why. I have a bit of a soft spot for the Coyotes.
Probably because of your night out in
Yeah, I
Vermilion.
had a great time in Vermilion. I'm not gonna lie, that was fantastic. So that's actually probably part of why. So I normally have a South Dakota cup too, a commemorative cup that we got because their like media meal was just like a voucher to the concession stand, and it came with the souvenir
Nice.
cup that normally sits right here that I was about to show the camera, but Marcy washed it, so that's probably for the best. But yeah,
It's very Midwestern of them.
100%, which I love. I love that type of stuff, and I love the town of 6,000 with the fucking hopping bar scene because it was their first home game, and all like the alums were in town, and it was like if Eaton had 10 bars open till 2 a.m. That's how I would describe Vermilion, South Dakota. Big fan, cannot recommend enough. Did you make your pick while my computer was trying to figure itself out there, Ben?
I did. I said Montana just has too many pieces across the board. Roster too good. Just ultimately everything's in their favor, and I think that this should be game of the week. But um, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think the final score is going to be the game of the week. I think this could be um, like a very like competitive, fierce game through about 3.5 quarters.
Word. I could see that too, and I'm hoping that that's enough to keep the spread at less than 13 and a half, you know?
Right.
Let would I think you'll probably be on board to make this next one the game of the week. And I bet you know which game it's going to be. Or wait, no, it's not this week. Didn't we go over this? We went over this last week, didn't we? They take a break before the Celebration Bowl.
Is it? Because I think.
Oh,
Well,
or is it? Let me Google it.
I think it's this weekend.
Is it? Okay.
13th, 12th.
Okay, cool. We can pick it then. Celebration Bowl. It is Prairie View A&M versus South Carolina State, and that is South Carolina State's a 3.5 favorite. I was not confident in their mascot enough to phrase it differently. I think I'm going to pick Prairie View A&M just
Okay.
because I partially inside baseball. I started an NCAA college hoops 2K8 dynasty with Prairie View A&M last college basketball season, so they occupy a little bit of a soft spot in my heart. And that's the worst. Actually, you know what? When it comes to our like gambling history, the last couple weeks trying to pick these games, that might be the best strat. That might be the best strategy to actually get me some wins picking these spreads. So I'm gonna
Picking
go.
it solely based off of consolation and emotion.
Yeah, that's why Why do you think I constantly have something? I also have a soft spot for Western Kentucky because of a NCAA like 12 dynasty back in the day.
Nice.
But Ben, you
Yeah.
probably have a nuanced take regarding actual football on this game, so
I have a nuanced statistical take that I had South Carolina State in my top 25 early in the year. Um, they kind of floated around a little bit for me. The MEAC and the SWAC have been very nuanced last couple years, especially with per se the death of the MEAC as teams fly away to other conferences to absolutely just get their shit pushed in. NCA&T used to be a powerhouse in there. Still a blue and gold Aggie fan myself. Love what they do. Love their band. Big fan. Not a big fan that they went to the CAA. I think that was a horrible choice at the wrong time. They didn't keep Sam Money Washington. Got rid of him as a coach. That was the biggest mistake ever. And I will forever be mad at NCA&T for that. Just because that was my HBCU school. I was like, yeah, like let's cheer for them to win the Celebration Bowl all the time. I mean, they had a little bit of a cheat code because they had Tariq Cohen, former Chicago Bears running back, which is just an absolute beast. Like he was kind of like Eckler. He was a man among boys. Just freaking crazy. So that's where my appreciation, admiration came from it. Also, I'm gonna be a little bit of a sucker and just say I'm just gonna cheer for the MEAC champion as well to try and
ooh,
juxtapose you a little bit. So between South Carolina State floating around my early top 25s and them being from the MEAC, I'm gonna give them a good old whoop on that Saturday.
Ben, I actually have a bit more of an affliction to the SWAC. So if you want to
Okay.
start like a decades long feud amongst us podcast hosts between the SWAC and the MEAC, I'm down to jump on board with the SWAC.
Also, here, weird connection of UNC to HBCUs. Do you remember Caleb Brickhouse,
Yes,
punter? He actually went, I think it was to NCA&T and
yes.
was a punter.
Was he lefty?
Yes,
Okay,
blonde,
yeah,
curly left.
yes. Didn't know that. That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So UNC, what up? Like, had a have a HBCU connection there. Also, our former SID, Dennis Driscoll, has been around many of those programs professionally and just casually.
Yeah, where's he at now? Is he at? Alabama State.
Yes, because he was at FAMU and now he's at Alabama State.
I think so. Good. Denny Driscoll. I kind of miss him.
Yeah.
Brooke doing fantastic though. So
yeah, love Brooke, but Dennis had some crazy stories about just HBCUs and drama and all of the different nuances down there.
100%. Okay, well, I think any closing thoughts on either week 1 or previewing week 2 of the playoffs here, Ben?
I mean, in true Wicked fashion, hail, hail, NDSU is dead.
I think I never developed the hate for NDSU because UNC was never like a true contender, so NDSU was never standing in UNC's way. And then when I really
But in olden days of North Central Conference days,
that's true.
We were a little bit of a back and forth. I don't think that we had the complete edge, but we did knock them out of D2 playoffs a couple times.
That's a great point. There's a lot of these weird matchups where if you go back to the 1920s, Ben, I wouldn't be surprised if there's it's like Regis University has a 3-0 like football record over the University of Alabama. It's just dumb shit happens when you go back like far enough. So I do obviously that's probably going back to the 80s and 90s, not necessarily the 20s, but it's a good point. Yeah, I'm interested to see. I don't think NDSU's going anywhere, but this is sure a notch in the armor. I'll say notch to be safe. But yeah, I'm interested. This should be. Hopefully, we have a couple better games now that we're down to 4 or 5 with the Celebration Bowl. Some big spreads. Hopefully, 1 or 2 of those actually ends up being a like single digit game. So we have something interesting to watch before I think all hell breaks loose when it comes to the Final Four. All right, but as always, if you like what we're doing, please like, comment, subscribe, review. Tell your mom, tell your girlfriend, tell your grandma, tell your grandma to tell her Pilates class. To like, comment, subscribe, review. To Bear Claw Media, everything we're doing here. I think Ben just dipped out. He's probably checking some stats or something. But Bear Claw Media Complaints Department right there. At Bear Claw Media on Twitter. If you don't like what we're doing, direct all complaints to that man right there. And have a good one.